Rev up your engines! All right, to keep or not to keep, that is the question. Ladies bought this juice. A lot of times Subarus at higher mileage start to have some serious problems, but I know which ones they are, so I'm gonna see if this one has them or not. She bought it from a company. It was a commercial vehicle that drove all over the country. The high mileage that it has, even though it's only 7 years old, right? It's got like 3 times the mileage my wife's Lexus has on it, and it's 22 years old. So, highway mileage is equivalent to about 10% stop and go city driving. So that's a good omen to start off with. Now we're going to look under the hood to see what's happening with the engine. I've been in Massachusetts for years, so you're going to see the surface rust on all kinds of stuff. The surface rust doesn't mean anything. The main problem with these engines are they're boxers. There's 2 cylinders on this side, 2 cylinders on that side. They're more complex than a regular 4-cylinder engine, which has 4 in line with 1 head gasket. Valve covers on each side, so twice the parts. A lot of times, these babies will start leaking oil like mad. Now, this one isn't. If you're looking at a Subaru, and you see that both sides, there's one side or the other, a bunch of oil's leaking out, you're gonna have to pull the engine out, you're gonna have to re-gasket and stuff. That's a pretty expensive procedure. This doesn't have it, so right away, it's looking better than I might have thought, one that has over 200,000 miles on it. She's done the usual. She's had brakes replaced and had an axle go bad because, of course, the plastic boots rip. And just like my Toyotas, this has never stranded her anywhere. Understand, this thing was built in Japan, and the Japanese just do a better job building their stuff. They take it serious. They want to make something that lasts a long time. I find that Subarus that are made in other places, they don't seem to hold up as well. Now, this does have a CVT transmission. You could get it with a manual tranny or a CVT. Now, if you follow me at all, you know I'm not a big fan of CVT transmissions. But in this case, with the Subaru, you're better off with the Subaru CVT transmission than one of their automatic transmissions, because the weakest point of the Subarus has always been their regular automatic transmissions. Their CVTs, on the other hand, if you can handle the way that they shift, or don't shift since they don't have any gears, this thing's got 200-something thousand miles on it, still the original transmission. And when I asked the owner, you know, how's the transmission going, she said, well, I don't know what it is. So she doesn't even know what the transmission is. So obviously she's happy. She's been driving it for 100-something thousand miles. She didn't even know what kind of transmission it had. Now, this is the type of person that can be totally happy with a good CVT transmission. Reminded me of a couple that came the other day. It was a Honda with a CVT, and it was a 2-liter engine, a nice size 4-cylinder engine. Honda makes great engines. And I drove it and I said, you know, it runs fine. I said, but it's a shame that it's got that CVT, because boy, those Hondas are really fast and it takes a lot of acceleration. He said, yeah, that's the only thing I don't like about the car. But his wife was there and I said, well, do you care? She said, I don't care at all. It gets me where I'm going and it runs fine. So if you're the type of person that isn't a fanatic about cars, you can be totally happy with this, because in the past, the older Subarus had automatic transmissions up the yin-yang, and it cost a fortune to rebuild them. These do not have a particular problem. They're pretty well made. Every single Subaru made, with the exception of the sports car, all-wheel drive, right? Now, if you have just 2 wheels drive, see guys doing burnouts, right, revving up the engine, that destroys the transmissions. Well, you can't really do it with a CVT transmission, so you're not getting the strain that you're going to get in an automatic. Don't have quite the amount of acceleration, but on the other hand, if they're built correctly, they can last and the people are totally happy with it. Bet you dollars to donuts that the owner doesn't know what these are. Okay, these are the shifters. When you put it in manual mode, that goes down and that goes up. She didn't even know what they were. So she's just going to keep it in drive and drive it that way. Now, you can see she's got nice seat covers because all that mileage of people driving around the country. You can see here the leather's worn out. But, I mean, hey, there's a lot of room in these things. So we'll see if Buddha's going to smile on the car here. Beeping means it's doing its thing. Okay, it's already detected the vehicle. We'll do a standalone diagnosis. How's the VIN? North America. 4-cylinder engine. And as you can see, it's got 208,185 miles on it. 2017. So we can do a full topology scan. So here we go. It's going to do the scan. And while we look around, hey, It's nicely set up. It's got a real parking brake, which I like, instead of electronic stuff, because it is old enough that it doesn't have that electronic crap yet. Now, 24 trouble codes. Does that mean you should get rid of it? Well, let's look at them. There could be a lot of electronic hoopla we don't care about. So, we'll start over here. And the vehicle speed is abnormal. A sensor's failure. Well, you never know. This thing might have been worked on. So, we're going to erase these codes one at a time. See if any of them come back. So, we got rid of that one. Let's look at some more. Here we go. Wheel speed sensor, power, voltage, brake light switch stuck off, with the brake lights working, steering sensor. Now, at some point in time, somebody may have worked on this car and not reset the stuff, so we're going to erase those codes too. We have the history of the vehicle speed sensor, which is the same thing in the other code, so we're going to erase that. Obviously, it's related to the other code. And now we'll go to some major stuff here, possible. The body control module, battery current power supply, battery power backup, ignition power, AC. These are all power things, right? You know, the immobilizer key in the car starts the car, right? Somebody might have had one that didn't work in the past, so we're going to erase these two. Combination meter, that's more electronic computer hoopla. Again, they changed the battery. A weak battery would have done that, so we're going to erase that. We got 3 more sets down here. Occupant detection system. That's for the airbag systems. I never expect them to last on a car that's got over 200,000 miles on it anyways. And that trouble code is passenger detection sensor MAC. Liquid coating. Boy, they're really getting carried away now. She drives the car by herself, so we'll erase those codes. We got 2 more to go. Airbag system. They always have problems when they age. Detection. We already know there was a malfunction from before. A lot of these codes are just duplicating themselves, so we'll erase those. We got the last one. Tire pressure monitoring system. I never expect them to last when they're this old, because there's batteries in each sensor. Some of them certainly have worn out by now. Tire pressure low, normal mode, air pressure low, speed abnormal. We're going to erase those too. There's plenty of air in the tires. Those systems just break down over time. Now we're going to start her up. Start right up, and we'll look at some live data here. Mass airflow sensor's good. The air fuel sensor, look, it's almost perfect. 1 is perfect, 0.99. And there's 1.01, almost perfect for a car with that kind of mileage on it. Our term fuel trim is 0.80. That's almost perfect. That's perfect there. All the data's good. None of it's red so far. There's no bad data here. A lot of data, but that's modern cars for you, right? Make sure there's no red data. Over a spin. Do enough. It's got a backup camera there. I still don't trust them. It's weird, because none of my cars have backup cameras. I just don't trust them. As you can see, it's idling smooth as silk, even though it's got over 200,000 miles on it. And really, I attribute a bunch of that to the fact that the previous owner was a commercial vehicle that drove all over the country. Highway, you're driving, you're in top gear, you don't shift, the engine's cooled because the wind's blowing. You want to get a car that's got high mileage, you'd love to have one that's all done on a highway like this one was. Away we go. Remember, it's a CVT transmission. See, it doesn't shift because there's no gears. It has to rev up high to get going, but it gets going relatively quickly. And for 200,000 something miles, the wheel bearings aren't worn out yet. Hey, nothing to complain about with that. Zip in front of this car, because it does take off quite fine. It's not a particularly heavy vehicle. And even though I'm not a fan of CVTs, the Subaru regular automatic transmissions historically had a lot of problems. And these CVTs seem to hold up a lot better. This baby's got 208,000 miles. It's still the original transmission, which has never been touched. And it still goes perfectly fine. Now, as I suspected, none of the codes came back. Yeah, a lot of them probably before she even owned the car. And if you're the type of person who just starts your car up, puts it in drive and drives, you could be completely happy with one of these. So there you have it. I'm telling her to keep this thing. Don't get rid of it. They don't make them like they used to. It still runs like a top. There's really nothing wrong with this thing. Just normal maintenance. She's changed the oil filter in it, and she's replaced the drive shaft when they went out, and the brakes, which wear out over time. But the engine and the CVT transmission, although I'm not a big fan, this one has held up really well with nothing done to it at all, where the older Subarus with actual geared automatic transmissions, those had a lot of problems. So in this case, you're probably better off buying a Subaru that has a CVT in it, as they seem to hold up a lot longer than their automatic transmissions do. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.